What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today, and in front of me, we are looking at 7 different samples from 7 different groups or creators or influencers within the whiskey world. These are all single barrels that they picked. I don't know who picked them. I don't know what picks they are, but we're going to try them out. We're going to blind all 7 of them, and we're going to rank them 1 through 7. So I have absolutely no information about what is in these. I don't know if these are ryes, bourbons. I don't know if these are random picks. I don't know if they're Reddit picks, group picks. I don't know if they're my picks. They could be anything from anybody. So I'm excited to try these out. We're going to do like half of each of these because I might also do something where I put some of these up against each other once I find out what they are. If there's something similar, I do want to try some picks from one creator versus another. We have our answer key here. We've got a pen and paper over here because this is a lot of whiskey, which means we're going to have to take some notes. So let's pour these up. I guess we don't have to mix them up because they're completely blind, and let's get into this. That took way longer than I would like to admit. So listen, as you can see, I did not pour a lot of these. The best thing about this is I don't have to mix them up, right? It's completely blind. So if I run out of this one, I can always just add more. If I run out of this, I can always just add more. If I'm debating between one or another, I can always add more and go back and forth between those two. But everybody knows before we get started on all of that, time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. That's high proof. So from my right to left, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to guess a couple of things along the way. I don't want this to be a 45-minute video. So we are going to guess like proof. We're going to guess like secondary grain or if it's a rye or anything like that. And then we're going to try and guess like if there's a finish or anything like that. Other than that, I might tell you what I would pay for it. I'm going to keep in mind that they are picks. They usually generally run a little bit higher than the traditional stuff that you're getting. So I'm going to keep that in mind. But I'm going to take my notes as I go. We'll rank them 1 through 7. This is going to be a lot of whiskey, so it will be difficult. I will say, first glass of whiskey for the night. Obviously, I didn't prep for 7 glasses of whiskey, so we're going to go through and drink a couple of them before we start honing in on proof and stuff like that. I will say, and I think this is going to run true across the board, these are probably all going to be very good. Don't take it and be like, oh, he thought this was the last one, that means it's crap whiskey. They're going to be very good. It's going to come down to personal preference. If there's a finish on one of these and I don't like finishes, then we're not going to like it as much. But I guarantee you, no matter who picked these, they got good picks. A little less proof, I think, on that one than the first one. But again, it was my first glass of whiskey for the night. And I feel like for some reason, both of these are bourbons, but like a higher rye content. Again, we're just getting started. That one's got a little funkiness to it. I don't know. It's still spicy, so I feel like I'm still getting rye, but there might be like either a 4-grain or a wheat content in something like that. This one's different than these two. These two seem pretty standard, pretty traditional when it comes to bourbons, maybe even ryes, high ryes or like a 51% rye type of thing. But this one does seem a little bit different. It's throwing me off on maybe it's finished or maybe it's wheated or something like that. So here's the thing. I don't know if it's included, but I did kind of tell them try to include one of my picks. I have 4 picks. I have my own pick that I did with Whiskey Noobs, which was a Blue Note pick. I have a Driftless Glen. I have a ASW Fiddler Heartwood. And then I have, what am I forgetting? Oh, of course, the Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye. All of them are very good. I want to put them up against each other one day, but I do think one of those is in here. I don't know which one it is, and I don't know which pick it is. So that'll be interesting to see where that ranks. But the Hard Truth, I think, is still available. Click that link in the bio, in the description. Sorry, we're not on Instagram. Click that link in the description down below. Hold up. I told you I did a pick with Whiskey Noobs, which was my first pick, which was a Blue Note pick. We called it Boozy Fruit because there was a very predominant juicy fruit note on it. Feel like I'm getting it. I feel like I'm getting it. I don't know if, did I skip this one? I forget if I even drank this one. We're not even one time through and I'm already messing up. These, I mean, so far, these are all very, very good whiskeys. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't had one I don't like yet. I've had a few picks, I won't name them, from certain groups that I don't enjoy, usually because of a finish or something like that, but there are a few that aren't finished that I still didn't like. Again, I'm not going to throw names out there, but I will say there are some picks that I did not enjoy. I'm kind of hoping they're not in here. That one's super hot. Compared to everything else, that one's, I feel like that one's the highest proof as of right now. Wrong already. This is definitely the hottest one for me. So the tough part now is going to be honing in on what proof we want. I mean, again, I think they're all going to be around like that 119 to 130 proof range when it comes down to it. So it's going to be tough to really be like, this is 120, this is 125, this is 123, this is 130. So I think we're going to go through one more time. I'm going to try proof on this time through. See, here's the tough part with this. If I come out of the gate and I say this one does drink a little bit hot, which I think it does, I think it is a higher proof. If I started at like 130 and then I go down from there on saying these drink easier, then I got to be like, okay, 120. And then I'm like, this one drinks a little bit easier. So it's at 110. And I don't think anything's going to be quite under like the 100 proof. Maybe there's like a single barreled Old Forester 100 proof in here. But again, once you make that mark, you got to go off of that. And that's why it's so important to hone in on that with the first guess. I'm going to say 125 for this glass right here, 125 proof. And I can always change this, right? I can always come back because, again, I think this one is probably up there as well, like 125, 130. But I'm trying to think, like, who out there really has 130? Who's got, like, the stag picks? You know what I mean? That could very well be an ECBP, though. See, definitely lower proof. But now if I'm working off that 125, I feel like it's, I don't know, like 110, 115. But again, 110, 115, we're working into that like Russell's or that Wild Turkey type of cash strength. Which I guess this could be a Russell's Reserve pick, huh? Little 110 proof Russell's Reserve pick. Is that Wild Turkey that I'm getting? You know, I don't hate that guess. I don't hate that guess for that. But is it that much lower when it comes to the proof? I'm going to protect myself. I don't want to start bottle guessing things, right? It's in the video. If I bottle guessed it this early, you guys can be impressed still. I'm going to say that's like 117, just to be safe. I'm not quite sure if it's 120. I'm not quite sure if it's 115. So just to play it safe, because you get points for being in the middle, I'm going to say 117 proof when it comes to that one right here. Let's get into this glass right here. This was the one that was a little funky. I think it's a little bit finished, which can always throw you off when it comes to the proof. What is that? I think it's a little hotter than this, but a little bit lower than that. So I'm going to go 120. I'm going to go 120 proof when it comes to this one. We're going to revisit it, though. We're going to come back. This one, I don't even remember if I drank it the first time. Remember, I had to go back and all that. So let's try it one more time. Ooh. I like that a lot. Flavor-wise, I like that a lot. Proof-wise, I think like these all are so similar when it comes to the proof. I like that one a lot. This one right here is very good. I think it's a little bit lower proof though, but again, I don't think it's much lower than 117. We could be back into, I'm trying to think like what, I don't know every single pick that everybody had an opportunity to do out there, obviously, but there are probably some lower proof picks out there. Maybe there's something that's not cash strength out there that's throwing me off, but I think this is a little bit lower. So I'm going to go like 110 when it comes to this one. Again, I thought maybe Wild Turkey with a 110 over here, but I'm going to say 110 over here. I don't think it's Wild Turkey, although it is giving me a little bit of a toffee influence, which obviously could be Wild Turkey, but we'll see. Let's get into this one with proof. I'm going to say 119 proof for that one right there. Ooh. First time through, I feel like I didn't get this, but this one has a little bit of something funky on it as well. Something different than the rest of these. Again, maybe finished, probably higher rye, or if not a rye. This one seems like a traditional bourbon. There's something that's sweet about this, though. This one, though, has something completely different going on. It's good, but it's not my favorite. I will say that. It's good, but it's not my favorite. There's something going on this that it gives me a little funkiness compared to the rest of these. I think it's less attractive with my actual palate, but I will say it's still pretty good. Proof-wise is what we're trying to hone in on right now. I will say 107. I don't know. I just don't know. What did we say on the last one? 119? This is so tough. No, it's higher. I'm going to go 120. I'm going to go 120 on this one. I don't think we did do a 120, but I'm going to go 120 again. Some of them can obviously be the same proof, right? This one over here, remember, double oaked or older, and I do think this is the highest proof. And so far, we're at 125 for our highest proof. Let's see if it still has that bite when it comes to the ethanol. It's still there. The age is still there. The proof is still there. I mean, 125. Can we really go 130 for this? I'm going to go 129. I'm going to keep it right under 130 because, again, I just don't know how many picks out there are coming out with 130 proof. So I'm going to go 129. And if I'm close, I'll be excited about that, right? Some of these might be like 117.2 because they do get very specific, especially when it comes to single barrels. But those are my proofs. I'm going to go 125, 117, 120, 110, 119, 120, 129. I'll put this somewhere on the screen if I really feel like doing all that. But I will say, let's go back through one more time. I have a couple here that I think are better and worse, so we can definitely distinguish between those. I'll talk about whether it's rye, wheated, and finish as we go, and then we'll put them in order because, again, I don't want to keep you all night with this. These two over here, I think, are both either ryes or high rye content. Let's go one more time. So here's how I'll do this. I'm going to tell you if I think it's a bourbon, a rye, a wheat, whatever I happen to think it is. If it's finished, if it's not, maybe give you an age if I think about it. But I will say we'll just go in order. I'll put this as number one for now, and then I'll rotate. If I think this is better, we'll switch it. But right now, I'm getting like a candied bacon maple note on this. I like to dip my bacon in maple syrup when I have breakfast. I always have something with syrup, French toast, pancakes, waffles. I like to dip my bacon in the syrup, and I feel like I'm getting that. There's candied bacon, which is where you like brown sugar it and stick it back in the oven and it caramelizes. And I feel like I'm getting that type of sweetness on this, and I absolutely love that. This is a fantastic glass of whiskey. I do think it's a bourbon. I don't think it's finished. I do think there's like a high rye content to this. So bourbon, high rye. I don't know anything else about it though. 125 proof bourbon, high rye. That's what I'm going to say. And for right now, it's in first place, obviously. Proof definitely still seems lower. I said 125 on the first one. I said 117 on the next. I feel like we're going to keep that there. And I do feel like, as of right now, we're going to keep this at number 2. I feel like I do like this one. I mean, this is like 1A and 1B as of right now, but we'll see where they rotate to. So glass number 2, just to finish this up over here, by the way, I didn't even mention it. I do think it's a bourbon. I think there's rye as a secondary grain, but I don't think it's the high rye that I was talking about before, all depending on your high rye context. I think this has more rye than this, but I think they're both bourbons. This glass was the one that I thought was like wheated or finished or something like that. I believe that was this glass. It does seem softer when it comes to the spiciness on this. There's a little bit of sweetness, but it doesn't seem like any type of confectionery or like fake sweetness. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it does to me. There's a very wheated sweetness on this. So maybe this is a wheated whiskey. I'm going to go with that because, again, you got to stick to your guns. It just seems toned down. These proofs seem very similar now. I said 117 and 120, which is obviously very similar. I think you could interchange these either way, but it just seems a little bit toned down. The flavors are still there. I still very much enjoy the flavors, but it almost seems a little less complex or a little less like punchy than these two, and maybe that's going from those ryes to those wheateds. I'm not always the biggest wheated fan. Some of them hit me a little bit better than others, but this one, it's kind of in the middle. Listen, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say it's a bourbon, but I'm also going to say the secondary grain is wheated. I don't know why. I don't remember. I thought this was the one that I said maybe a VDN, but I'm not really getting that orange on my 4th time through. I mean, go figure. So 1, 2, 3 as of right now. Ooh. This one is good. This one I like a lot. Can it jump to the top though? That is really freaking good. There's sweetness on the front. There's like a toffee note that again, it might just be stuck in my head, but there is a toffee note on this for me. I get sweetness. I get a little bit of spice in the middle. Not a crazy age statement on this if I had to guess, but I will say this is one of my favorites. I'm going to say number 1 right now. We'll go back at the very end, which means we got to pull all of these back a little bit. We'll go back at the very end and do like the top 3 just to make sure. But for right now, I think this is my number 1. Let's get into this glass right here. No. Let's talk about this. 110 proof. I'm going to say it's a bourbon. Again, this is like filling out C on every form on the Scantron. You like want to change one of them up. I'm going to say it's bourbon. I'm going to say it's rye secondary, but it's not a high rye by any means. But 110 proof for that one. That's fantastic. Let's get into this glass. I said 119 before, and I don't think it's 119. I think it's lower than that. But again, this is our 3rd time through 120 proof whiskeys. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say 119. I don't want to change my proofs too much because at this point, I don't think I'm going to be able to distinguish between 120 and 125. So I'm going to stick with my original thought on proof, which is why I went through it the first time with proof. But for flavor on this, I got to drink one more. I'm going to guess. I'm going to bottle call this one. I'm going to guess this is boozy fruit. And just because it's my pick doesn't mean I'm going to put it number 2. I will say, I think this one, and we might have to go back one more time. I think this one's better, but I'm going to go like this right now. I'm going to go 1, which is this one here. 2, which is number 1. And then I'm going to say 3 for this one because the sweetness on this is fantastic. I think it's different than everything else that I've tried. So I do like that. Let's get into the glass number 6 over here. By the way, we didn't say, for number 5 over here, which is now number 3, I'm going to say it's a bourbon. I'm going to say it's a rye, but I do think it's that blue note. I don't know why, but we're going to say rye. So far, we have high rye, 1 wheat, high rye, 1 wheat, and then we have rye. So maybe none of these are finished, or maybe this one right here is. This has got to be finished, right? I don't love this one. Only because, again, I feel like I get that port or sherry influence or some type of wine or something going on the finish here. And anybody who knows me knows I don't love finishes. It's got to be done just right. And compared to everything else that I've had so far, everything has been done just right. All 5 of these so far are fantastic whiskeys. I have to pick one to be better than the other. But this one right here, I feel like is going to be my last place so far and probably by the end because I do feel like there's that finish on here. And maybe it's just me throwing it. It could be in my mind again, but we're going to put this one last for right now. I know there's like a Fill Your Own Elijah Craig program out there. I just had, again, Hello Again Whiskey Friends. I picked that when I was on their live stream and they were doing their best of 2023 picks. I picked that as my favorite one because it was fantastic. So is that this? I don't know. Whose is it? I don't know. But this, I've always hated ECBB at the very beginning, but I've always fell in love with it recently. I think this is really good. This is going to challenge number 1 or number 2 for damn sure. I do think it's a little bit higher than 129 proof though, because if it's this late in the game, if I've had this much whiskey and it's still hitting me with that ethanol, it's definitely higher than 129. But who knows? I'm going to say, I don't want to finish this one because I do want to keep a little bit. This is tough. I think this one I'm definitely going to pull down to last, right? This one I'm definitely still a great glass of whiskey, but I'm definitely going to pull it down to last just so I can start to distinguish between these. This one as second to last seems like a very good spot for me, so I'm going to say second to last for this one. This one is definitely close. I think if I wanted to and if I went back like 100 times, this might move in the ranking. But for right now, I'm going to say this is third to last. So we have to distinguish. These 4 is really where I'm getting drawn up. Held up. This is tough. This is very close for me. This one right here, I will say is my number 1. I'm going to stick with number 4 as my number 1. But I will say these 3 are almost interchangeable. I'm going to go as of right now, though. This is going to be my number 2. This is going to be my number 3. This is going to be my number 4. But this is very much interchangeable, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go 5, 6, 7. But we've got to find out whose these are. Still sealed. And here we go. I'm so scared. Let's go with first place, which was number 4. Guys, you watched me open. I'm not going to cut it from here on out just because of this. Guys, number 4 is Blue Note Uncut Unfiltered. That's my pick. Number 4 is my pick, which was... Sorry about the sound. Which was... I don't... Listen. It's number 1. I said 110 proof. It's 119 proof. That's bad. So when it comes to proof, that's bad. But it is number 1. So what was second? Second place was number 7. Number 7 is ADHD Whiskey Barrel King 126 proof. I said 129 proof. And it was in Stag Barrels. Who out there really has 130? Who's got like the Stag picks? You know what I mean? ADHD whiskey, Barrel King, 126 proof, aged in stag barrels. So I said Elijah Craig. I said 129 proof, so we were right there. There's no age statement on here. I said 12 years. I do think that's probably a little bit older, right? It's got to be. So that was one, which was mine. Number two, and then what did I say? Number three is number five. Number five is Our Bourbon by Take, T8KE, which was a Rebel Distillers Collection 124 proof. Was that the one that I said? No, it's not the one that I said was wheated. I said that was rye, 119 proof, 124 proof. A little bit off on that. That is a fantastic glass. Our Bourbon, Take, if you aren't already following them, if you're not a Reddit person, follow Reddit. That is a very, very good pick. Let me take a breath right now. Number four was number one, which number one was a Mash and Journey Hard Truth Rye. 123 proof. I said 125. 123.3 proof, almost 4 years. Hard Truth Mash and Journey, though. Hard Truth Rye. I did say it was a high rye and maybe a rye, right? So we were right on that. That is a very good pick. If you're not following Mash and Journey, you should definitely be following them. They put out some fantastic picks. Jason promised me, Jason, if you're watching this, promised me I could go to a Russell's Reserve pick. I plan on doing that. I don't care what day of the week it is. We will be doing that. But that 125 proof versus 123.3, I feel good about that. Almost 4 years old. That's a high rye. I will consider that high rye, aka it's a rye. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. What was our number five? Number five was number two. Number two was the Bourbon Judge Penelope Toasted 112 Char 3 Heavy Toast. So here's the thing about the Penelope Toasted. I personally don't like the heavy char, heavy toast, all of that. I like a mid-char, mid-toast type of person. So for this being char 3, which is mid-char, and then heavy toast, we're leaning towards the I don't love it side of things. If you love that age statement, that heavy char, heavy toast, you'll like this a little bit more than I did. As number two, I said it's 117 proof. It was 112. I think that char probably brings out a little bit more of that spiciness. And then heavy char, heavy toast, I did say it was a rye. I think Penelope Toasted is obviously a rye. And then what are we on to? So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on to number 6, which was number 3. Number 3 is an SLB Drinks. They do a fantastic job. New Rift 113.1 proof. What did I say? Number 3. I said 120. That did drink a little bit of hot. A 4 year on that. New Riff is not wheated, so there's definitely rye in that. This drank a little bit hot, and it drank a little bit soft for me. So that's my only complaint on that. New Riff, there's a lot of good New Riff stuff out there. If you have an opportunity to try New Riff, I think they're fantastic. I just think for me personally, I'm kind of like past that New Riff phase. But last but not least was the Bourbon Junkies Driftless Glen 124 proof 5+ years. Listen, this one just seemed a little bit quiet to me, and I thought the Bourbon Junkies did good picks. I've had a few of them when it comes to samples, but I haven't had this one. So 124 proof 5+ years. I mean, it is what it is. I said 120 proof, so we weren't far off when it comes to that. 5+ years. I think my Driftless Glen was a little bit better, but I'm not going to say that. I will say this was a fantastic blind. I'm glad I had an opportunity to do this. Thank you to my patrons who sent me all of these. This was fun. I'm going to put some of these up against each other that I think deserve to be up against each other. But I will say, I mean, blind, 100% blind, my pick came out on top. If that doesn't make you follow me, I don't know what will. But hey, that's where we're going to leave you for today. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button here on YouTube. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. Go click that follow button over there. Check out our Patreon page and our Discord. Both those links in the description below. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy. And stay trying everybody's picks because I don't even know what I got left. But I did. Cheers, y'all.